It is just about
All right, good.
5 after 8, okay, and we do have a quorum.
Yeah.
All right, so the purpose of the meeting tonight is to chiefly to discuss our opinion about the operations budget for the Board of Education, but first we do have some minutes to approve, which we have not done since we haven't had, well, either haven't had the minutes or haven't had a regular meeting. So I would like to have a motion to approve the minutes of April 8th.
Motion.
Okay, Anne Reed and Teresa. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. April 1st. I'm sorry, that was backwards, but April 1st. Sheila and Anne. Are those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. January 28th. I believe that was the meeting where we talked about the appropriation for the electrical panel.
Oh, right.
Okay. So anyway, can we have a motion for January 28th?
Yes.
Okay, Anne and a second? Barbara. All those in favor?
I'm going to abstain because I don't know what those minutes say. I didn't read them.
Okay, one abstention for
Yep.
January
and
28th.
And same with January 10th.
Okay, and so we're going to do January 10th now.
I don't remember.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the minutes of January 10th? Teresa and Anne, and then all those in favor? And we have one abstention for both the January meetings, which was easy. Okay? All right, thank you very much. The next item is that we need to discuss the Board of Ed budget for 2019-2020, the operations, and I guess the capital budget as well. Later tonight, we're going to vote for our opinion on it, and I'll do a report for the Board of Ed meeting, for the RTM meeting next week. What I'll probably do is write the report sometime other than tonight, but I want to take your ideas tonight, and then I will circulate it to you sometime during the week ahead, and you can let me know what you think. Just another note, if you reply about something I've said, just reply to me, don't reply to the group, because that's considered having a meeting online. So tonight we can say anything we want, but if you're emailing, just make sure you only email me. So we have had our questions answered, or a lot of our questions answered by the Board of Ed. That was a discussion point at our last meeting. And I brought the report that Anne did last year based on what was important in last year's budget. And then this time, I think we should kind of see if there are any points that you want to make sure that you make. We can start the discussion now. Would you like to go around the room and just say individually, or are there high points?
Can I ask one question
Yeah.
before we go there? I understand there's a new budget. Maybe it's the budget approved by the
Oh, the Board of Finance approved
Board of
budget?
Finance that we're supposed to, who was interested to pick up. So we're voting on the budget that was discussed, right?
We're voting on the budget that is the Board of Ed's recommended budget. The Board of Ed voted on the budget that the administration did in January, and they took some things out and put some things in, and they have made this their budget. In the interim, the Board of Ed had some good news from their insurance, medical insurance, and I believe we're able to reduce the budget by about $500,000.
524,000.
So that is a new number that is less than the number here, the total number. So that's the only thing I know of as a new budget.
Are you saying, because now the budget technically belongs to the Board of Finance, so we're voting actually
There's a
on
new
the
budget out there, so I don't know if we're...
So I think what you're saying is that we're voting on the education portion of what is now the Board of Finance's budget, right? Is that what you mean?
On the
I
warning,
don't know.
Peter, the number will change. The 100 million blanky blank will change to conform to the one passed or approved by the Board of Finance.
the number, as in the warning, it's item C in the warning, and it is $100,118,409. That was what the Board of Finance voted on. And that was, okay, so this is
Which
what's in
represents
the
an
warning.
increase year over year of 2.03.
Yeah. But that, I think, includes the 500 plus thousand.
Yeah.
Correct.
I believe it was 569,000.
69, sorry.
Okay, and so is that agreeable to everybody that we're talking about that amount of money?
So the change is what now? It's not, it's 2.03 about?
The number reduction was 569,000. That was the healthcare reductions.
Right.
The amount of money is $100,118 and $100,118,409. 118,409.
409, which is, yeah, so it's like 500,000 less than what's in this
Subtracted
number.
from that.
Yeah,
It's a tiny bit over 2%.
It's just that insurance issue, right?
yeah.
The insurance was a positive, good news, and they,
I think everything else is
It's
the
the
same.
same. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
what I probably should do is email Mr. Feeney and just make sure, if we're looking at that pie chart, what it comes out of, the pie chart personnel, we'll see exactly where it
Oh, the reduction
is
of the 569?
reduced, yes. Okay, all right, so any other comments about the budget that you'd like to be sure we include? It's the percent is 2.03, that's the new percent. Okay, do you want to, how can we kick this off? Last year, Ann wrote a very good report. Essentially, it's about a page and a half to 2 pages. We thanked people. We, reported on the amounts of money. We talked about what the money was, what the increase was for. This year, I assume the psychologists will be a big thing.
We should probably have a comment about that, I think.
Yes.
I think that was the biggest ask. I was going through it in my head. I feel like that was the biggest
Yeah,
ask
that was
this
the
year.
biggest ask. Another thing we might want to see is whether you were happy with the way the questions were answered. Just want to welcome the 2 people who just came. We are being recorded live tonight, just so you know that.
Hi, Carolina. How are you? Look so cute.
So things that we want to be sure that we include are some rationale for the psychologists. Does everybody think that that's a good idea? Yeah.
I don't.
That we're supportive of.
You
that.
don't? Okay. All right.
No, just for her to discuss.
Okay. Well, I don't, so.
So tell me why.
Well, I'm going to vote no on the whole entire budget,
Okay.
and I'll probably be the only one, because I'm usually the only one. And the reason is, the budget is enormous, and I think if there is such a huge need for psychologists, they should use the money that they already have in 100 million plus budget. And I know that there's the increase for all the contracts and that they've cut some stuff to get this in, but I think that they should be at 0 and there should be no increase. I think I've been on the RTM 9-10 years, and every single year we have approved, the RTM and the Education Committee that I've been on it, a tax increase. And I think that we need to say no, and we never, ever do.
We actually didn't have a tax increase last year.
That's the only year when Jamie was running for lieutenant governor, but every single year, it has been a tax increase, every year. And we did vote, the education budget was up last year, but because of whatever they did, it didn't come out to be anything. But yes, we voted for an increase last year. So I feel, and it's been, I think I've lived in town 16 years, and the majority of those years, there's been a tax increase. And John Zagrodzky even says that it is not sustainable. And people throw stones at all the people in Hartford, saying that, the state's a mess, it's a complete and total joke. I mean, you've heard all the things, hands off our schools, what's going on, tolls, and we're no different here in Darien. We raise taxes every time we want something. No one ever says no. And I think the budget's enormous, and if they really want that, and it's such a important, and I'm not even I don't even want to get into the debate of whether psychologists are necessary or not. I don't care. If they really want them, they should find a way with their $100+ million budget. And it's a lot of money. We have a new super, and I think the new superintendent should be the one, as we all discussed in the beginning, that maybe this isn't a good time. We should wait till see what the new super wants. So you have what's going on in the state, what's going on here, and a new super coming in, and John Zagrodzky saying all these tax increases are unsustainable. We should vote no. We can't control what the state does. We can only control what Darien does. And we do exactly what the state does. Every time we want something, we throw on a tax. And I already feel that our schools are already excellent. I mean, I have a kid who's at the Naval Academy on a full scholarship. I have another child who's at Bucknell, and they have done great, and they did well in the high school. They did great at Hindley, and they did great at the middle school. The schools are good as they are. So do I want to say, oh, we don't need 4 psychologists? I don't even want to debate that. I don't care. I think if it's such an urgent need, it should be out of the 100 million plus.
Do you feel that, I mean, and this is a question for everybody, not just for you, did you feel that we did ask questions about, the psychologists, about why they were needed, mentioned the thing about the new superintendent coming in?
Yes, it was
Also,
all discussed, and Board of Finance discussed it too.
Do you feel that the Board of Ed did a good job of answering our questions about the psychologists, bringing in their principals who
See,
talked about?
if you say no, someone will get offended, because I actually didn't like the presentation that they gave. I went online and I looked up stuff, and I'm just not for it.
Okay, but I mean, for the other folks, do you feel that the Board of Ed did a reasonable job of answering the questions that we had about the psychologists? That is, told us about what a day was like for a psychologist, how they would spend their time. So it would be fair to say we were pleased with that. Would that be a reasonable thing to say?
And they referenced the research, which is very powerful, the research that says.
Well, I looked up some other research, and there's some other research that counters that. But like I said, I don't want to get into it. If it's such an emergency, we would have been hearing about this for years. We never heard about this last year. It was never on any of the list. It was never brought up, and bam, here it is. But anyway, if it's so urgent and we have so many kids who are struggling, there's $100+ million for them to figure it out. And again, it's a new super, so that's all I have to say.
There's also the issue that we have so many students going out of district. And what we asked, would there be the possibility that their needs could be handled, or some of them within district, if we had more support here? So no one can answer that question right now, but I would think it would certainly be a possibility. I'm more concerned that over 100 students have to leave Darien to get an appropriate education.
Okay, but that's not only related to the psychologist
Right.
questions, related to a bigger
Yes,
question.
but it is related to that.
It's appropriate. I think that there was also a matter of the students having a better health and wellness curriculum. These are not people who are just for the special ed program, so that's another part of the rationale.
And preventively.
I get all that, but we just threw in Fitch Academy. That's going great. It's expensive. There's a lot going on, and I get that the Board of Ed, that is their job, to ask for the world. And I think that the RTM and the Education Committee needs to put the brakes on. There's a lot of money there.
To sort of coordinate with what you just said about they should have said something before. I think one of our questions that we asked that night was whether they would consider having, some sort of a statement about things that were not included in the budget,
Right.
like we do with
I like that.
capital. And I was disappointed that they dismissed that.
Yes, I
I
was
felt
too.
that was a reasonable thing to say, and that they sort of dismissed it. So
Well, at the beginning, Tara Achman did say in one of the meetings that she said out loud, we're a little surprised, the Board of Ed, because, you remember that?
Yes.
Because we've never heard this from anybody.
That's
and now,
right.
bam, you're here giving this huge presentation, you need all these people. So that made, the alarm go off that,
yeah,
come on.
That's true.
And I thought your request was quite reasonable for some sort of list of things that might be wanted, a want list for over the next couple of years.
So nobody has to make that statement,
Right.
hey, we want 4 new people, but we've never heard of this before, that's.
Well, and then also they said in one of the meetings that if a child needs this service, they can outsource it now. That they can get a social worker, they can get a child.
But they need
Well, it's all
they need
expensive.
it right there, and to then outsource.
Like I
it.
said, I don't want to debate that. They should have the money. They've got $100+ million. It's a lot. We're going to get a new super, or we have a new super, and what does he want next year? So they did all this job of cutting. It should be at 0,
Okay, any other comments related?
in my opinion.
Well, it starts, it does
No
start at
increase.
0. Don't they do 0 base, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay. So any other comments relating to the psychologist?
I was very convinced when listening to the reasons why they needed the psychologist, maybe because I'm coming from an education point of view myself. And I feel if the teachers are saying this is what is really needed in the classrooms, and we want to maintain the standard that the school does have, and they can see that there is a need there.
Did the teachers really say that? That's what I wasn't sure about,
There
because
was-
we've never heard of it before.
Well,
There was
when they
one, I
came
remember when they
forward,
came and they said,
did
we
the
need help,
presentation.
we do as much as we can, but we need more
Right,
help.
I felt like that was more administration saying they needed them
I think this, but
versus the teachers.
I think it was a couple of teachers, but to me that, I knew exactly where they were coming from, and I think that it's a need that can't be ignored.
I thought the public comment was very powerful in the psychologist. Like, I was very moved by it. Like, there was one woman who spoke, and to hear, it just stuck with me, this one woman, to hear a child in kindergarten not want to get on the bus and go to school broke my heart, you know, so.
It is, but what's the parent responsibility versus the burden on the entire town and everybody? So that's the debate.
I thought the presentation was
It is
excellent
public school,
and
exactly, it's for
persuasive.
everybody.
And we're responsible for everything.
It's for
All right,
everybody.
let's have one, okay, can we have, were you talking, Liza? Just-
I was just saying, I thought the presentation was persuasive, and I was very convinced that it was an excellent idea. And I know that Darien is the #1 school in the state of Connecticut, and I think that we want to maintain that. And I think one of the ways to maintain it is to. I don't think so. We're not
We're the number one
I
high
did
school.
see that.
We're number one high school.
And I think that it would behoove us all to continue that number, not only for our kids, but for our property tax values. So I say yes, I think it's a good investment.
Okay, Ed, did you have a comment?
Well, no, just, I mean, I don't know, I thought your point was a good one, but I think there were some people who were kind of taking issue with your point because they were reading it as you being against the psychologist, and
Not
really.
necessarily.
Exactly, you're just saying.
If you need them, get them,
Take the
you
money
have the
from
money.
someplace else, and so we are kind of focused on, do we do this or not, and I don't know that anyone's saying we shouldn't do it, it's just, we're spending money on all these other things, and I kind of agree with you. that
Thanks.
You agree?
In terms of, I think it's a good use of money, and I can't believe that in a $100 million budget, we can't find it someplace else.
Okay. Any other comments relating to the psychologist? And, you know, agree, disagree, whatever. Are we okay with what's been said as part of the rationale? And then there will be a comment about the minority, which may be the minority opinion, that it, you know, some people did not agree, and for the reasons that you all stated.
What was that total cost again?
For the psychologist? I have to look that up, let's see.
Roughly.
Say half.
Probably have 400,000 probably, but let me look.
I would say, I think they come at 75,000 each.
I think so,
about,
too.
So that would be 300,000.
Well, then there's benefits and who they are and all
That
that.
experience.
Well, this year is psychologists, last year is curriculum coordinators. What are we going to add next year?
That's why I brought up administration versus the teachers. I feel like the teachers, we never hear from them. We hear from all these top-tier people. And the top-tier people, all they do is ask for more and more and more. I think that's just the way it is. That's their job, by the way, to ask for it.
You know, it's really interesting that the amount of money proportionally that's spent on the different parts of the budget has remained very stable. Proportionately, this is how much we usually spend for yeah.
It's a lot of money, and enrollment's
It's a lot of
down.
money, and enrollment is down, but it's also heading up. Depends on what school you're talking about. So it's just, I see it as quite stable.
Any other comments?
On that, or?
On this particular issue? Okay, so I guess another kind of big ticket area was the teachers at the high school, the department heads at the high school who will now not be required to teach a class. That's another cost area. Does anybody want to comment on
I
that?
thought that the Board of Ed revoked that and that they are still, they're going to teach, they're going to teach.
I thought they did too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought
I see that as management issues
Yeah.
and less relation to.
Do you know, Teresa?
Are you sure? I didn't realize
I thought that they
I
were,
thought it was gonna, I thought they kept it that they are not teaching
that's what I
class.
thought. And I watched it this morning, so I'll check that out, but you think regardless, we shouldn't be commenting on it? Is that what you're saying?
I don't see where it's exactly our purpose.
Let's see if we get a text from her.
Except as a consumer.
Okay. I think that the rationale was that the people who were the department heads would be more in service to the students if they did not have a class to teach. In other words, the class that they were teaching was getting shortchanged with their time because the time was being spent on administrative stuff. And I didn't think there had been any change in that, but you think there was?
Sorry, I may have been back before. I do remember Tara saying that about that they weren't good. They weren't there 100% good advocates for their students because of their other responsibilities.
Okay. Any other comments about any other area of the budget that you would like to comment on?
I have a couple.
Okay.
It made me uncomfortable that the administration, the superintendent, seemed to think it's a good idea to use teachers as substitutes, taking away their planning time. And it made it sound like, oh, they're happy to do that for $30. I think it belittles teachers. It takes away their one period a day to think or relax a little bit between all these classes.
It belittles teachers?
Yes. $30 for your planning time. And besides that, they need the planning time. Pretty soon we'll be saying, I guess we don't need planning time if everyone's willing to give it up for $30.
And I see it also as the teachers not being available to the students who are trying to get a little bit of extra help.
That's interesting, because that was the rationale for having the department heads not have a class.
Although I will say, from personal experience, when a teacher from the same department subs, they actually teach the class versus a sub just sitting in there. I just got a text. The department heads will not be teaching next year.
Yeah, okay.
At least the teachers know the children, rather than
Well, they might.
coming
Well, that
from
makes
a...
sense.
That's a good point. They're both good points.
Did you have other things? You said you had a couple of things.
Well, besides that, I understand from people who've been in this group more than this year that each year you bring up the varying costs parents pay for different athletic programs, and it seems like it's brought up, but nothing's happening, so why are we bringing it up?
You're right, it's a waste of time.
Sorry, what was the topic?
The athletic.
I don't
The
think
athletics,
he didn't.
athletics.
You know, I guess
Called
this,
insanity.
think of a clear statement to make about that. I mean, I know there's some disappointment that the questions that we asked last year were not all answered.
Well, we want to see change there. We'd like a definite plan that makes sense for how much parents have to pay to have their children
So more
in
equity
sports
amongst the
programs.
sports.
Sorry, but is that an RTM item? Like, aren't we just approving the budget?
We could,
Yes and no, we can discuss it, and that's one of the beauties about being on a committee, is that when you hear things from people in town, you can talk about it. We didn't really talk about anything last year, so it's good, discussion's good, I think.
No, well, we did send them a whole series of
That
questions
was a
to be
question
asked
that
over
we
the
asked.
summer, and it didn't really come to anything.
so I guess to your point, Ed, I don't think we can make any comments relating to the line item of athletics in the budget, but I think since we did ask them these questions in the past couple of months, we can say we're sorry that, or maybe we can say something like, we appreciate the effort the Board of Ed has made to look into these athletic issues, and we hope that they'll spend more time on it and be
We
more
expect
successful.
more, we expect some.
Yeah, okay, something
Right.
like that.
And I see in the notes that a school climate survey will be done next year.
That's
And
right.
to me, that was connected to our teachers really happy to give up their planning time and morale. And also, some schools seem to have much higher absenteeism than others. So was somebody else sick for a long time, or people needing a mental health day, as they like to call it? So is staff morale where it should be? Because that affects everybody.
Okay.
And
I
that's sort of not a budget question, but it is. It affects everything.
In
Kind
the,
of is, because the subline is very big at the
Right.
elementary school.
And has been.
Yeah.
For the teachers that sub, am I right? I gathered that nobody was sort of coerced to do so. I mean, it was a voluntary thing, and maybe some people have 2 breaks on that day. I mean, I don't know what their schedule
The
is.
official response was that it's not mandatory.
Yes.
But I guess when your boss asks you to do something,
Yes.
it's kind of...
Yeah. So, you know, high school teachers only teach, I believe, 5 classes out of an 8-period day.
5 out of 8.
That's nice.
And I think the lab people, the sciences, maybe it's only 4, because they have a lab.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Double. I know that when I saw the presentation with the board, or the question and answers with the Board of Finance, the superintendent, Landon, said that they will do a school climate survey next year, and the state can be helpful with those. So I think that's something that we can say we'd like to see some encouragement about. Sheila, did you have any more?
No. Well, the survey, is it for teachers? Is it for everyone?
I think it was
Do they have to
intended-
put their name on it?
I don't know that.
Probably not.
No, I assume not.
Hope not.
Okay.
But I would hope that whatever the survey is, it's not just, are you happy or not, but what are your concerns as an educator?
Yes. And what issues do you see as needing addressed?
As we've said, we don't hear so much from the teachers, it's more the administrators.
Okay. Any other areas that you would like to be sure are mentioned in the report? Special ed, I know that sometimes is something that people want to talk about. We would not be mentioning anything then? Okay. Any questions about the Fitch, or any statement you want to make about the Fitch Academy or the ELP program?
Can I just say something? I was very impressed when I went around the Fitch Academy that early morning, and it sort of blew me away that the dedication of the teachers and what they were doing for those children. I have absolutely, because there was no discussion as to what their issues were particularly, but I would hope, and I'm also assuming that this is a way of keeping children at home, and therefore that they are probably at a cost, if you were doing it with money, probably cheaper this way. But I was absolutely floored by it. I was so impressed.
Okay.
I think they need to do a better job explaining what Fitch is addressing. I keep hearing it's not a special ed program, but then I also hear we're keeping kids here. There's just a disconnect.
Well, kids don't only go away for special ed problems.
Yes, so then, but you're still talking about kids then who are 504, which falls under the special ed budget.
Not necessarily.
No?
I mean, if they have medical issues, if they...
Yes, no, there are medical issues, but like, I just get very, I just wish they would do a better job of kind of defining Fitch. I don't think there's a...
Well, I don't know if they don't want to label the kids at Fitch, right? I mean, I think Fitch has proven to be, from what I've heard from the teachers, a real boon to group of
Oh, no,
students.
it has, and I know kids there. And they're very, very happy. Sometimes I just get confused.
I just think it's been a big success. And-
Oh, no, I'm not saying it hasn't been, and I think it's a great thing for the district.
Why do you think it's been a big success? Like,
Because I think
what are the markers for success?
Well, I think, I went to a presentation last year at Fitch and talked to some of the students and some of the teachers, and the kids said that they couldn't handle the high school
They
as it
come
was.
to school.
Yeah, they come to school, they're happy, they have friends, they have an environment that's small, that they're comfortable in. Whatever their issues are,
It works, I get
it works.
And I think cost isn't one of the statements cost effective if you add all the students
Yes.
and if you have to put them to a, outplacement program outside this town.
But to Teresa's point, these are not outplacement kids who are staying at Fitch because they would have been outplaced.
I mean, Dr.
Maybe.
Dr. Brenner said last year he thought it
necessarily.
saved about $400,000 in outplacement.
Yeah,
costs.
and then Jay Hardison went, prove that number, and we had a whole debate, so let's leave it
And
alone.
I don't really care
No,
about
no.
that.
Exactly, let's leave it alone.
You start defining, then you're identifying.
Right.
And, that's where the issues come.
Okay, so we can kudos for the Fitch Academy, but then also say that we think it should be better defined without invading anybody's.
I don't think that's possible.
No,
I don't think you can define it without labeling the kids who are going
You
there.
don't think so?
Exactly right.
Okay, all
Tell me
right.
about it.
We won't say that.
It's certainly fulfilling a need, and
Yep.
isn't it?
At some point, discretion has to be the better part of valor.
Right. I
It's
think
really,
I'm glad
you
it's
know-
found a permanent home.
I am too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Well, they
point.
can tell us within their guidelines, and they haven't done that within the guidelines, so I think
It's
We can
really
ask the question.
to talk to people that used to be part of the old ALP program, and I bet you would know them.
Say that again.
The old what?
You what?
ALP.
People who had been part of the old alternate learning program, which is
Oh, ALP. I was like, what
We
are
have
you
one on the
saying?
Education Committee that, when we first started talking about Fitch, told us a lot about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments? I know from time to time, there's been some discussion about the percentage for the excess cost grant. This year, I think the grant is, the assumption is that they'll be funded at 73%. And the threshold is about 95,000. So anyway, that's per student. This is the grant that comes for students that whose expenses are more than 4.5 times the expenses of a regular ed kid. So anyway, that's something that I guess is okay this year with the state. I mean, there's still some concern about whether that will continue on, but this year I think that's what they
There's
did.
there's the grant, there's the excess cost grant, and then there's the ECR. So the ECR is the one that they're
Excess
targeting.
cost reimbursement is ECR, but
That's
then
the one
there's-
they're 73%.
That's it.
Yeah.
Education cost sharing is a different grant. It's a block grant that goes to the town. Darien gets very little money. It's about 400,000 or something like that. And that's also open to question as to whether the state will continue on with it. But that does not go to the schools, it goes to the town. But the real one that they're always concerned about is the excess cost.
So is the question or point you're trying to make, are we happy with their target of 73%?
I guess that could be something we could say. I mean, last year, what did we say?
They bumped it up considerably
Yeah, they
last year.
did, they did. But I mean, looking at it a different way, if they bump it up, then that makes the tax rate less, right?
Right.
If they leave it low, we can be taxed for things that aren't necessary, and then they end up with extra money at the end.
But if they
So
put it high and it doesn't come in,
then somebody's
Yeah,
stuck.
yeah.
Yeah. But if we think, I mean, I don't know why we would have a reason to disagree with them, other than to just say,
I think both F&B and our committee pushed them they were in the 60%
Yeah.
range, and we pushed them up into the 70s, which I think is pretty reasonable, and resulting in a budget that is a 2% increase year over year, I think is pretty reasonable. And we really don't know 100% what's going to happen with the state,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah.
it's probably pretty reasonable.
Okay. Any comments, other comments on the excess cost? Anything else that you'd like to comment on in the report? Don't all speak at once. Anything you're really excited about, really think went well? I mean, we did spend a lot of time with the Board of Ed a few weeks ago. I think we would thank them for the time they spent. Almost all of them came. They did, spend a good bit of time with us and included a number of administrators. There was also, there are often questions about the athletics. Last year, a big issue was the assistant athletic director. That's not an issue this year. Anything else that?
I think it's still an issue.
Well, it's not an issue that was.
It's already
new
done.
this year. Right.
Sorry.
I'm glad they found a new superintendent.
We are, and we did talk a little bit about, I went back and forth with Tara once just to see if there was any chance that he could come tonight, but he isn't going to start working here until July 1st. He was in the district about a couple weeks ago, and people are excited, I think we could say that. But other than that.
Where is he from?
Granby.
He was the 2019 Superintendent of the Year in the state of Connecticut.
Oh,
Clara, are we going to meet with him at some point? Is it normal process that
I
we
think
do
we
this?
will, but I think it'll be in the fall when he's officially started here, because his start date is
Right.
probably July 1st.
He did meet with all the PTO chairs already, though. Like, when they announced him that Tuesday night, that Wednesday, he walked around all the schools, and he had a meeting with all the PTO chairs of the 7 schools.
That was nice.
Like an introductory meeting, not like a deep thought meeting.
But still, that's
Yeah,
a good sign.
yeah.
Are there any other points that you'd like to make? You're ready to vote, because we do have to do a vote here in this committee. Would you like to talk about anything else? You put a motion on the table that we we want to call for a vote on the appropriation in the general fund to the education operating budget of $100,118.
No, 100 million.
I'm sorry, you're right. Let's try this again.
So big, that's the problem.
To go with the RTM resolution approving the July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020 budget, item C, and an appropriation in the general fund to the education operating budget of $100,118,409. Does anybody
Make a motion.
move? Teresa moved, second?
Second.
Ann, all those in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, that is one, okay.
Everybody.
It's everybody.
No, not me.
But Lucy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I have it.
11.
I have it,
Got
don't worry.
11? Okay.
I have it.
All right, all
I've
those
everybody.
opposed? 1. Okay. All right. Any abstentions? No. Okay. All right, I don't see on our...
Sarah, did Sarah tell you what her vote was going to be? Should I include it in here?
No, she has to be here.
She has to be here for it? Okay.
Okay. So is there any additional discussion on this? We're done? Okay, this will be the report, and I'll try to circulate the high points to you sometime in the week ahead. I guess the capital budget wasn't really included here, so I don't, does anyone want to discuss the capital budget? Some people went on a tour, saw the improvements that needed to be made. Anything that you have questions about, or?
They did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, the Henley roof is the big thing.
You know, some things are so obvious that
Right.
they really need to be done.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? We have another item here, if you want to talk about, I don't see a request that we vote on the capital budget, so I don't think we should do it.
But don't we have to vote on it anyway?
I don't know, I mean, you want to vote on it?
I think we should vote on it.
I feel like we should
in
vote it.
case
So this is
turns-
what, we were just talking about this, at our rules meeting last week.
Yeah.
Seth made it sound like the education wasn't going to do anything on it, but I feel like we should.
I didn't see it, actually.
Well, we could do it
We
just in
can do it
case we
just in
need
case, I
to.
think.
Just in
And then if they don't need it, they don't need it.
But we don't, okay, all right, so all those, we don't have the amount here, so I
Oh, well,
don't,
that's, okay.
that's a
then
little bit of a
that's
problem.
the problem.
I tell you what we'll do.
Did
if-
anyone bring their packet?
I have it, but they probably have.
Well, if there's things that they're going to bond, they take out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
you know
that's where
what? Hold on a
maybe that's
second.
it.
Let me look at what we did from last week. Let me open that up.
Because I don't see it on the
Because it'll
warrant.
be on the rules thing.
It's not on here.
Because some of it was bonded.
Maybe that's where the difference is.
Yeah. I think the Henley roof is being bonded.
I thought you were going to be red.
If it's needed, can we vote by email later?
No, we can't, but, you know, if we really needed to.
Okay, so the education capital budget, wait a minute. Am I in the right thing? Oh my God, no.
So Hinley
I'm
is
in, like,
being
last year's
bonded,
thing.
then consideration and action of special appropriation of another 500,000 for 4 capital projects, and then, so those two, so that's 1,058,250.
That's for the RTM.
Here it goes.
It's Hinley roof and capital
The
project.
discussion, it is, and F&B got primary and everything. The Henley School roof. And then there's I think it's all being bonded.
I think that if we need to vote on it, we'll come together right before the
Yeah.
RTM meeting, 15 minutes before, we'll do that. Without an amount, I don't think that we can do much, okay? And then when we were not asked, it's not on the warning, okay?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
Is that all right with you? All right. We did have one comment, and I know that just by way of announcement, people who have not been to the active shooter training, please be looking for it so you have a chance to go. The folks who have been have really wow.
It was really good.
I think there's another one on the 21st.
Is there? I didn't know they had a date.
Yeah, she just put it out.
Oh, she did, okay. One of the things that some people think that we might talk about a little bit is, improve additional security in the elementary schools. And I just wanted to mention that because it is something that some people have in the community think is a good idea. I don't want to have a security discussion here on live television, but anyway, it might be something that this group should be thinking about for next year, putting on an agenda, or somehow being more active in finding out, maybe going to the training, seeing, what's involved. I don't know if anybody else has any concerns.
I think there needs to be discussion, and maybe it has been after Sandy Hook, and that's why the sort of institutional knowledge here in this group would be helpful for me to hear. When I went to the active shooting training, it was clear from the, most educated and trained detectives in town that their view is that, the softest targets are obviously the most vulnerable. And
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
that the elementary schools are at most risk. I know that we have armed officers in middle school and high school, and we don't at elementary school. So I don't know if this was been discussed in this group, and if not, I think we should ask the superintendent's view, the new superintendent's, what it is, because
Me too, I'd fight for
I
that.
think the view, the suggestion, the request should come from him, and also obviously we need some kind of public opinion from the police department, which currently is, we don't need SRO officers at the elementary school, and I think maybe there's a little misnomer. The way they think about SRO is obviously more than an armed police officer. It's the resource officer against drugs and other stuff, which perhaps hopefully is not needed at elementary school. But so if you put away that SRO name and
We
just
probably should not be discussing this in this recorded meeting.
Yeah, we're going to,
Well, you can discuss it, but you can't have any answers. Like, you can ask them and they're not going to tell you.
Right.
You have to go to town hall, you have to go to the police chief. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing it up that you're concerned about it.
No, it's about bringing up in a recorded meeting where the vulnerabilities of the town are.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think we have it on the table that it's something.
Yeah, I
that we'd
think
like
they
to
will
follow
not,
up on.
I would also like to bring up, I don't know if this should happen with the Board of Selectmen or it's a town thing. They need to close off the high school during the day, even if it's not a security booth. When I go to drop my kids off or pick them up, or if I have to go there for a meeting, there are people walking their dogs
Yeah, I
there all
have
the
no
time.
problem with
There
that.
are
I think
people
that's
coming off the
nice.
track. I don't. It's a school building. Those kids walk outside to change classes in that courtyard. It is the only school building, only school property where people are allowed, the public is allowed. You're not allowed at the elementary schools. You're not allowed to just walk onto the playground.
But
in
I think at
elementary
every
school.
town, I don't know any town where they have that, where I used to live, everybody used the track, not during school
No,
hours.
but people do use them during school.
No, they walk the loop is where they're supposed to be only walking the loop.
No, I've seen people come off the track.
But even you've got on track or not.
I mean,
the fact is
they
you can
have
cut
taken
through,
people
like, you
out
can
of the
just-
track.
Exactly, you can just drive
Like,
through,
for
and it
real.
shouldn't be,
Yeah,
and there
well,
was an
that shouldn't
accident
be
there.
allowed.
Like the
But I think you
custodian
should be
has
able
told
to
them,
walk around the
you
loop.
cannot be in the track during school hours and take them out.
Well, just you
Well, I
can't be on
agree
the
with
school
that.
playground during school hours.
Oh,
either.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we shouldn't be able to be on the track. But the loop around Center Oval. Right, I agree with you. I think you should be allowed to walk your dog around there. That was one of the promises that was made when they built that building.
Was there ever discussion of an
Maybe you're keeping the geese
What?
away. No, the geese aren't there.
Okay, one conversation. What did you say? You don't want to?
No, it was the opposite of what you were saying, close it off, and my son was like, we should have an open campus.
Does he mean for students, though?
Yeah, to go off campus for lunch.
Forget it, we already voted.
They used to have it.
Did they still
It
do
used to
that?
be
I
open.
think the seniors can do it in the fourth quarter, I'm not sure.
Because that was, oh my God, we've been
You
there.
want your kids at school till
You would
2:20.
know, you would know. Do you know, do seniors
They
go to
had, they do, well, they go for their internship,
Right.
so.
Well, that's true.
But
But I
I think
just
there was a
meant-
townwide vote about this, or something that went on. There was a vote, and everyone decided, no, kids are best in school, not driving around, not having
That's true.
5 people getting into a car.
Horrendous accident.
In New Canaan,
In Darien.
and Darien too, and kids die. They should, your kid goes to school, they should stay there till 2:20.
Okay, well, that's,
That's my
And
opinion.
they drive down my street 90 miles an hour.
Yeah,
okay. Well, that's something we might put on the agenda for the fall.
yeah,
Okay.
don't let them leave.
Okay. Well, I don't, that's not our decision.
You
right?
can't walk, you can't walk out of
They're
there.
not allowed to drive
You have
with
to drive.
students there same age.
There are new rules about
So
young
you can't
drivers.
say, get in my car and we all go eat somewhere.
But there's separate
You
things
are
for
allowed to,
siblings.
so you're allowed, you get your license, for the first 6 months, you can't drive anybody but like a parent, like another licensed driver. After 6 months, you can drive your sibling. So my daughter who's a junior can drive my freshman son now to school if she were allowed to drive to school. And then once you have your license for a year, you can drive anybody.
Oh, I didn't know.
So a lot of the kids at the high school are at that point. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments on other business? Anything else? Okay, I see also that F&B, the F&B Committee of the RTM is reporting on the design developments funding for the Oxbridge School, and we were not asked to do the same, so I guess that's another thing, that if it was a mistake, we'll have to get together on Monday. I doubt that it's a mistake, but I did last week email Seth Morton. I did not hear back from him, just to see if there was some oversight, because I would think. You should ask Jack, too. Jack
Davis would probably.
He would know. He would know. Okay. Well, anyway, but the folks at the Rules Committee didn't.
We fought for you, Carol.
What?
Barbara and I fought for you.
So you did discuss it.
But there was no money attached to it at that point.
$3 million.
But they didn't, well,
But they're going to bond it, right?
I think
So
so.
that's
They didn't
why
know what
we're
they were
not-
doing, Yeah.
What do you?
I don't know, it says,
It's not on
the
there.
appropriation of $3 million for planning, design, and construction of new elementary school in town, and authorize of issuance of bond notes in the amount of $3 million
it's
to meet
bonded again.
its appropriations,
So
yeah.
maybe that's the reason why we
I
did
think
not?
so. They just
Yeah.
weren't sure about how they were going to.
All right. Well, if there's no other business, I would say we could call for a motion to adjourn. And again, I'll be in touch with you with the report that I expect to use. You can email me back if you want to add to it, or tell me you didn't like something. That'll happen this week, and I will give the report on the 13th, which is next Monday, okay?
Okay.
So could we have a motion to adjourn? Ann and Karen. Okay. Thank you all for coming and for sticking with us through the whole process.
Thank you.